Okay. They've changed everything up. All right. So we are here, ready to go with learning about lunar cycles and solar cycles. Before we begin, do any of you all have any questions or anything? Have any of you all ever heard of lunar cycles or solar cycles?
Nope. I haven't heard of neither of them.
Nope.
And I just think of it maybe as like our daily cycles, like how like
Yeah.
daytime and nighttime, but for the solar
Mhm.
system and for the sun. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So lunar cycles are about the moon and the cycle that the moon goes through every 28 days. The solar cycles are about the sun and the cycle that the sun goes through every 365 days. And then it this whole section here, this whole lesson plan here is all about learning how to harmonize with them because they are just a part of nature and the universe. And so learning how to harmonize with what is naturally occurring around you in your outer world. And all of nature harmonizes with these. I mean, we have more free will than most of the animals and plants and minerals and things like that, gases. But so we can have a greater degree of choice in choosing what we do and don't harmonize with. So some of us can be kind of out of sync with this. So the Gregorian calendar is designed to keep us out of sync with these. And so that's what gave me the idea with the new year having just passed to provide you all with this information so that you can be more in control of consciously harmonizing with these things versus the different programming that might be running and operating based upon us being educated and growing up and learning within a system that is functioning off of the Gregorian calendar, which is completely throw you off. There's 12 months, but there's 13 lunar cycles. That's why you have a blue moon. There is no such thing as a blue moon. It's just the 13th lunar cycle. 13 being the most powerful number of the universe. You cut out the 13, cut out some of your power. So just to help gain your power back. So we'll start with the moon and lunar cycles. As I said, the moon runs in a 28-day cycle. The moon is also connected with your subconscious mind. It is most prevalent and provides the most light when it's dark out. So it's the represents the subconscious mind, which it also is all about your thoughts and emotions. Because as you remember from the mind diagram, your mental level is within the subconscious mind, the highest level, deepest level within the subconscious mind, and the emotional level is the surface level within the subconscious mind, the one closest connected to the physical level. That's why we call them feelings, because we can feel our emotions because they're adjacent to it. I can feel this shirt because it's adjacent to me. I can't feel the cup over there until I touch it and make it adjacent to my skin. So, that's why we call emotions feelings. And so the moon is going to be all about, more of your inner world, harmonizing with the lunar cycles is more about your inner nature and how to keep that cyclical nature going internally, your inner action towards your goals. And so that's kind of what the moon's about. So this is a diagram illustrating the cycle of the moon. Can you all see the whole entire diagram? Is this bottom part cut off for you? It is for me.
Yes, I can see it all.
Okay, cool. So this is a little bit more information than you really need. Really, all you need to know is you have the new moon over here. Can you see my mouse moving?
Yep.
Okay, all right. And then the cycle goes down this way, so leading through to the half moon.
Yeah, they not for school. They just for the play. Cause I bought Lon some long ones like this. But I couldn't find these.
Oh, girl, because I be letting Maddie wear these to school.
Okay, I thought you were gonna have brought with her wearing it.
All right. And so we have the new moon here and then into a half moon as it's waxing into a full moon, and then the full moon begins to wane and subside back into a new moon, and then it goes over and over, and this is every 28 days. You know, this is uh, like I said, there's 13 times that it goes from a new moon to a full moon back to a new moon. So that's kind of the cycle it goes through. It's called waxing as it's going from the new moon, where you can't really see it, into the full moon. That's called waxing, and then it's waning, subsiding, and going back into a new moon. And so that's kind of the cycle. A lot of you might be more familiar with the moon cycle. It's easier to see, it's easier to track than the solar cycle, but we'll get into that. So we'll start off with the full moon. The full moon, and harmonizing with the lunar cycle, and how it's harmonized with manifestation, is the full moon is the full fruition of your, you know what, did I put in here? Okay, so it's 28-day cycle. One thing I didn't touch on, I'm sorry, I thought it was on this next slide, but it's not. So before we go forward, let me just reiterate, from the new moon to the first quarter, every 4 points of this, from the new moon to the first quarter, roughly 7 days. From the half moon to the full moon, roughly 7 days. From the full moon to the third quarter, the other half moon, roughly 7 days. From the third quarter to the new moon, another 7 days. So that's how this whole cycle is, 28 days. And so from a new moon and a full moon, we have one every 2 weeks. It only takes 2 weeks to go from the new moon to the full moon. Where are we at now? I believe last Friday was a full moon. Yep, and now it is in waning gibbous. Yeah, look at this. Hold on. Well, oh wait, you can't see it because I'm screen sharing. But it looks exactly like a waning gibbous, which is because we were just left a full moon. It's at 78. It's 78% full right now. The last quarter, the third quarter, is going to be this Saturday, and then a new moon the next Saturday on the 21st. So perfect. So I just wanted to make sure you knew kind of like that it's 7 day, like 12 or 14 days between the new moon and full moon every 2 weeks. All right. So the full moon is all about the manifestation of your goals and desires. So remember, the moon is all about your internal world, your thoughts and emotions. So thinking about your, manifestations and putting forth action as well, but mostly like your thoughts and gearing and putting in the mental work to manifest things in a monthly cyclical time period. And the full moon is like an apex, it's the full fruition of things. So like going from the new moon to the full moon is all about, manifesting your goals and desires, and at the full moon, once you make it to the full moon, it's a time to start then going within and receding and not necessarily putting forth as much action and things towards manifesting your goals and desires, but then kind of reflecting on the success you've had. So the full moon is like a time period of, the full manifestation of your goals and desires. Your inner thoughts are being fully realized. That's why most of us can probably already, know just from living life for so long that like the full moon people are different. If you're ever out in public during a full moon, and if you don't know, then ask a nurse or somebody that works at a hospital, especially the ER. They can tell you like 100% the moon has an effect on us. It can move oceans. And so they should have no problem moving and shifting the waves, our internal waves of our emotions, our waves of emotions, just fine, because we're 70% water ourselves. And so the reason that a lot of things get real hectic and crazy and people are just acting off like from what they normally would during a full moon is because, like I said, the full moon is the manifestation of the thoughts and emotions that you've had over the last like 2 weeks. And so a lot of people run off of unconscious programming and things, and they have their own personal limiting beliefs that they continue to feed into. And those thoughts and emotions are extremely magnified at the full moon. So just like the full moon is pushing and pulling the waves, it's also pushing and pulling the waves of your emotions. And so, you react and respond to that accordingly, depending on what you're manifesting and producing. So that's why we're studying this, so that we can then be more conscious of what is being exalted and what is being intensified during the full moon cycle. Any questions so far before we go any further? All right, awesome. So the new moon. The new moon is all about like reflection, going within. It's just like the sun, your sun sign is all about your actions, the things that people can see, and the moon is all about your thoughts and emotions, the things that people can't see. The full moon is all about the outward, actually manifesting these things. The new moon is all about being inward, putting your focus on what's going on within yourself. And so, reflecting on what you have been, what you have been manifesting, what you're wanting to manifest, game planning on how to do that. But the new moon is also another apex. And so with each of these, what I mean by apex is like, if you think of an apex like a mountain, you have a mountain. The peak of the mountain is the apex. That peak is what separates one side from the other. So the new moon is going to separate the side of reflection, where you need to mostly go within and reflect on things, and the other side of outward action and implementing the plan that you've created, and really taking steps. So just like the full moon was a time to acknowledge what you've manifested and then start to go within and reflect on things, the new moon is a time to begin taking action on the things that you've been planning the last 2 weeks, because these are 2-week time periods between the new moon and full moon. So to bring all of that full circle, let's get into the waxing and waning. The waxing is the movement from the new moon out into the full moon. So it's a 2-week time period, like I said, and it's a time of action. You've formulated a game plan, and so come the next new moon, you should have a game plan for the next 2 weeks on what you want to manifest for the next 2 weeks. Right now, just start with like one thing that you can not one thing you can easily manifest. Don't be like, buy a new vacuum cleaner, something you can go do this, tomorrow afternoon, but make it something that is possible. You can start building and growing to more and more like things that are highly unlikely, and really work with it in this way. But start out, with some baby legs, something that is possible to happen in 2 weeks, and and really work with like formulated game plan and how you're going to do it. And then over that next 2 weeks, while it's in the waxing period, you want to be taking action towards manifesting it. And then you have the full moon. So like the new moon to the full moon, it's all about taking action towards your desires and your goals. This could be, physical objects, material things. It could be experiences you want to have. It could be qualities you want to build within yourself. It could be goals that you want to achieve, milestones within your life that you want to achieve, whatever it may be. It can be any type of thing. But this is a time of, putting forth action. So like the end of last year and the first week of, this new year was putting forth and manifesting things. So from like Christmas to last Friday, essentially. And then next you have the waning moon. That's the movement from the full moon back to the new moon. And it's also a 2-week time period. And it's a time of reflection. So last Friday was the full moon. This last week and this next week and a half is all about, these last 4 days and this next week and a half is all about reflecting what you have manifested in the 2 weeks prior, the 2 weeks that was the time of action, the waxing moon. And so what you want to reflect on is, when you formulated your game plan last new moon, and you spent the next 2 weeks putting forth action to manifest whatever it is you had in mind that you wanted to create for yourself, and then you made it to the new moon, and you can then gauge and reflect on how successful were you. If maybe you had a monetary goal of saving $2,000 more in your bank account over the next 2 weeks, that's really easy to gauge, because you have a dollar amount that you can. Did I hit 2,000? Did I get over 2,000? Did I not hit 2,000? Am I at $900? So I'm at 40% of the way, or 45% of the way. Did I get $2,500? 125%. I was successful. Overshot it. I was very successful with it. But it might not be that. It might be an experience that you had. Did the experience happen? Is it already booked and on the horizon coming up? Maybe. Is it happening today on the full moon? A quality you're wanting to build in yourself. It's like, how much progress did I make with that? This whole waning is a reflection. This first half is this first week is really reflecting on the last 2 weeks. And then the second week, the last week of the whole full cycle, so the last week leading up to the new moon, is when you really want to be focusing more on game planning for the next 2 weeks, from the next new moon to full moon. So after the full moon, spend that first week like really assessing and reflecting how successful you were, and gauging that success compared to how much effort you put in and the steps that you took and what it took to get there, and what maybe you could have done differently to get there if you didn't get there. And then that last week to really focus on what you're going to game plan for the next 2 weeks in the next new moon. So you have like a new moon where it's the apex of, I'm done reflecting, I'm done game planning, I'm now putting things into action. And then you have that very first week where you're starting to implement things. And then at that second week of the waxing period, you're really wanting to put forth a lot of effort that week into making things happen. And then you have another apex to where, like, okay, the time of action is over. Now it's time to recede and go within and reflect. How good did I do? How did I make this happen? How successful was I? Okay, let me start game planning for the next week. Okay, let me start putting in action. Okay, let me start intensifying the amount of action I'm putting in. Okay, let me gauge and judge how well I did. Okay, let me start game planning again. It's just a continual cycle over and over and over, because that's how time moves. It just continues on. Anyone have any questions so far? We got to have at least one question here. Oops. Hope I didn't mess that up. No questions from anyone?
I'm trying to think of one, but I really don't know which one I can ask.
That's all right. That's all right. I mean, you don't have to force a question. It's okay. No worries. Let's jump right back into it. All right. So solar cycles, and this is really what I mostly wanted to talk about, is the solar cycles, because mainly just because most people talk about the lunar cycles, or are familiar with it at least, maybe not necessarily familiar with how to use it for manifestation and things, but you don't really hear a lot of people talking about solar cycles. And so the sun, the power of the sun is huge. It as you know, runs a 365-day cycle. It represents the superconscious mind because it's the greatest source of light available to us. And so it will light represents awareness, so it represents the awareness within the superconscious mind. When it's out, everybody can see things. So the sun represents your actions, all about your actions. Taking action, the steps that you take in life to reach your goals. Because the superconscious mind is the part of mind that holds the blueprint for your existence, your soul's purpose. And so the more you can harmonize with the solar cycles, the more you can really make a lot of progress towards your soul's purpose. And the sun is not only our greatest source of light, but it's also our greatest source of energy. The sun is the greatest source of external energy that we have available to us. The other duty of the superconscious mind, not only to hold the blueprint, but is to also, feed us life force energy from within, to the rest of, to our soul and our physical body. So, the superconscious mind is also the greatest source of energy that we receive internally. And so there's a very strong correlation between those two for that reason as well. It's a huge source of energy. The vitality globules that are charged within the air particles, the oxygen molecules. And so when you breathe in, not only are you breathing in oxygen, but you are also breathing in those vitality globules. That's why like science would tell you that your body cannot sustain itself without oxygen. But metaphysics will tell you that it certainly can, because if you over oxygenate the body, and then you are also filling it with vitality globules, vital life force energy. Meaning, like if you do the rhythmic breathing that we do for that full 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes, then you can enter into the breathless state. Now, science would say that you could maybe last, a minute, 2 minutes, with having enough oxygen for your organs to continue operating. But metaphysics will tell you that there's enough vitality globules. You have enough vitalization within your body to sustain your organs to where your body you won't need any oxygen for quite a significant amount of time longer. 10, 15 minutes sometimes. You might have to breathe longer to get longer time periods than that, but it's certainly possible, and people do it all the time. So here is a diagram indicating the solar cycle. We just left the winter solstice. What in the world is going on here? This is backwards. I'm just now realizing. Why does it say June over here at the winter solstice? That should be December over here. Huh. I wonder if this was for one of this diagram I got was for like Australia. Yeah, look at Australia. Yeah, this is for the southern hemisphere. No wonder. Okay, so ignore because autumn and March. Yeah, that's why everything's backwards. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, anyways, ignore the months. The winter, we all know when winter is. So the winter solstice is like the 21st to 22nd of December. The summer solstice is the 21st or 22nd of June. The spring equinox is like the halfway point between winter and summer. And it's like the 21st, 22nd of September or of March. And then 21st to 22nd of September is the autumn equinox. So what that means is like why we have summer during summer is because of the tilt of the axis, we are closer to the sun. So the days are longest on the summer solstice. And then the days are the shortest on the winter solstice, which, that's probably not anything new to anyone. And then the days are very equal between the two on the spring equinox and autumn equinox. But these cycles are very much cyclical cycles that correspond very closely with the same thing of the moon. During the summer solstice, that's like the full moon. During the winter solstice, that is like the new moon. And then the equinoxes are like the waning and waxing periods. We just came out of the winter solstice. We are moving into the spring equinox. That's how they like Easter's on a different Sunday all the time because it's correlated with the spring equinox. The whole story of like Jesus Christ and being crucified and everything has really nothing to do with an actual man that had that stuff happen, but it's positioned on that time period because of the correlation of the spring equinox. That's the true new year, not the winter solstice or the the winter solstice is not really the new year. The day of that is not really the new year. The new year begins with the spring equinox, new life. That's when you start planting most of your seeds. If you go to your like Lowe's or Home Depot and go to the garden section, there'll be a stand with seeds, all type of seeds, from flowers to vegetables to fruits and things. You have all type of seeds. Go and look at all of them, and they'll all have different time periods that they'll tell you to start planting, but they'll all either be just before, just on, or just after the spring equinox. That's when you start to planting new seeds, for new life to begin. The trees start budding new life. The grass starts growing again. All new life starts during that new year. And a lot of other cultures, so they understand that and celebrate it at that time, not when we celebrate it. But we're at the new year now, so I thought that's maybe why I just thought it was very important to speak on this today. But moving from the winter solstice, we'll start there because that's where we're at. Actually, is that where we'll start? Let's see. No, we're going to start with the summer solstice. We started with the full moon, so let's start with the summer solstice. It's very similar. It's like the apex of the cycle. No longer are you, actively, outwardly manifesting things for the year on a much grander scale, because, the moon is on a grander scale than every day. You have a daily cycle that's the exact same also. It's on a much smaller scale. You have a high noon where everything's at the apex of the day. And from that point forward, you start winding down, and your day starts winding down. Another thing that kind of has us completely off kilter is like the TV initiated it, but now all type of technology and things. We spend most of our time awake during the night, like all of us right now. It's 9:30, but Eastern time. But it's been dark for hours. A long time ago. Well, not really that long ago, really, in the grand scheme of things, the history of man. Most people would already be asleep by now, and then getting up at the crack of dawn as soon as the sun rises. Boom, your day's starting. You're now starting to pull out of the inward time that you spent during the night. You literally go inward at that point, and then you come outward, and then the waxing and waning part is like sunrise. Sunrise is like the spring equinox. Sunrise is like the waxing quarter moon, and then you get to starting your day, and then at high noon, that's like the apex of your day, and then you start to kind of allow the day to subside and recede until sunset, and then you really go inward and game plan for the next day within your dreams and things. And so the daily cycle is a lot smaller cycle, but it's the same thing. The lunar cycle is a lot larger scale, and so then our solar cycle is on an even grander scale. And then we can then get into a cosmic cycle and with our solar system as it moves around the the star that it moves around, and how we are coming out of the Kali Yuga, which is like the furthest point away from the center of the galaxy, and moving over the next 12,000 years towards the center of the galaxy. So every day there's more and more energy on the planet than there was the day before. Been like that for the last, I think, 200 or 300 years, and it'll be like that for the next 12,000 years. So that's why you see so many people more and more waking up, and everything's increasing in intensity and moving at a much more rapid pace, because there's more and more energy on the planet every single day than the day before. But anyways, that's going even further. Let's rein it in a little bit. There's not really much we can do about those cycles, because those are, lifetimes, millennia. Millennia go into that. So, that's like a blip. That's like trying to talk about a whole day when all we're going to experience is 1 hour. But anyways, the summer solstice, which is in the middle of the summer, well, they call it the start of summer, but I see it as the middle of summer. But anyways, that is going to be the apex of your yearly manifestation. So you will be like having already put in a lot of energy towards achieving things by June 21st, halfway through the year. And then, the Gregorian calendar year. And this is, a time to begin easing off and relaxing. After June, you start to then relax and start to kind of reflect on the progress that you've made throughout the year, until you get to like the autumn equinox. Then you're going to start game planning for the next year. But anyways, the summer solstice is all about the full manifestation of your yearly plan, that you have towards your soul growth and spiritual development, and also your outer physical goals and desires that you have. And then you have the winter solstice. That's the other apex of the cycle, right? And the winter solstice is, you've already done the game planning, and you've already done all of the reflecting. You've already done all of the game planning. You fully understand your next steps in your soul growth, spiritual development, or your physical goals and desires. And then now it's a time to start implementing that plan that you've put into place. Start taking action. So that's where we're at right now. So if you haven't really given much thought to it, that is one good thing about like the new year being just after this, is it kind of already still helps people stay in harmony in that way, because they start thinking about like goals for the next year and things. And so they'll start implementing the action. But a lot of people, they'll have a lot of intensity on January 1st, and then the intensity will slowly subside within the next 30 days. And then by the time the spring equinox comes, they probably have already forgotten about those annual goals, when they're halfway to where they need to be, or when they should be halfway to where they need to be. And so it's kind of backwards, still. And because you have so much intensity that first week, when you should really be having that huge intensity on like the spring equinox. Like if everybody treated the spring equinox like January 1st, and was like, all my New Year's resolutions I'm going to do on the spring equinox on Easter, my Easter resolutions, and they would have so much more success if they implemented it this way, because they would, if they put that intensity on the spring equinox and they were doing it this way, then that means that they would start with that huge intensity on the spring equinox, but they would have preceded it with 3 months of building up to that. So like if someone wanted to, say go to the gym every day, like a lot of people do that. They'll, January 1st, all right, starting January 1st, I'm going to the gym every day. I'm not really going to start, making any habitual changes until January 1st. Then I'm just going to every single day. Well, if they shifted that to the spring equinox and was like, okay, starting on the spring equinox, I'm gonna go to the gym every single day because I want to be in shape by June, and then, I have a summer body, people talk about, but they preceded it with right before Christmas, I'm going to slowly start taking action towards going to the gym. Let me start going to the gym once a week for like 2 weeks. Then let me start going to the gym, or maybe let's start going to the gym once a week for 3 weeks. Then let me start going to the gym, come middle of January, start going to the gym twice a week for 3 weeks. And then after the first week of February, let me start going to the gym 3 times a week for 3 weeks. And then for the whole month of March, let me start going to the gym 4 times a week. So then by the time the spring equinox comes, you're already built up. You already took 3 months to build up going to the gym 4 times a week. So the spring equinox comes, yeah, you can go to the gym every day. You're ready. It's nothing. It's not. That's the next baby step. Instead of trying to look at you're at the top of the steps and it's like, okay, instead of taking this 1 step at a time, let me take this 4 steps at a time. Yeah, after like your 3rd or 4th step, you're falling down the steps, and you don't want to walk those steps anymore. And so the winter solstice is all about starting out. When you work. Well, let me stop getting ahead of myself. It's all about starting out, putting forth effort towards fulfilling that plan. Just like during the day, we all have a game plan for the day. but you don't like you don't like wake up and suddenly start rushing into what you're hoping to be doing at noon. If you're like, trying to build a deck for the day, as soon as you won't wake up, you don't just hurry up and rush outside and cut the saw on and start cutting, wood. You haven't even laid out where your posts are going to be or anything. You start just cutting deck boards. No, you get up, wash your face or take a shower, you brush your teeth, you get a little, drink some water or something, or some tea or coffee, and, have some fruit or something to eat, pancakes or whatever, who cares? You know, for breakfast, get some energy into you, maybe talk to some people, go over your dreams and stuff, start to wake up, allow your body to slowly wake up. You start to slowly get into it. Then you get to the job site, you kind of look around and game plan. Okay, this is how I'm going to do this. Okay, let me start with these posts right here. I'll just grab a shovel and, first let me measure things out. Then I'll grab a shovel and start doing that. And then by the time noon comes, I'm cutting deck boards to where I can be done and finished and pretty much wrapping up right after noon and then cleaning up, winding back down and cleaning up around like 4 or 5 and then done for the day, starting to get relaxed and rest. Same thing with the winter solstice. These first couple weeks, really put baby steps towards things. Whatever goals you said you had for the year, if you don't have any, then start, spend the next week or so. Spend like the next week game planning what you want to happen for this year, and then work, like fix that game plan to work for June 21st, the apex of when you want it to fully manifest, and then work towards going towards that. Just start putting the effort in right now, because then you have the spring equinox, right? The spring equinox is the center point between the solstices. The spring equinox is the center point between when you very first start putting in effort and when you have the full manifestation of it. So that's the time to really turn up the heat and increase the intensity, like I was literally just talking about. So if you haven't really game planned anything yet, spend this next week kind of game planning. And then by Easter, Easter's the time for you to really start intensifying that energy. You should start to see, physical evidence of what you've been working towards, because you've been putting 3 months of energy into it. Maybe not a whole lot because you've been baby stepping, and right now you're like, 3 weeks behind, but that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's, 3 months of time there. So 3 weeks is nothing. So you can easily catch up. But by that time, you should start seeing evidence. Like for example, going back to the example of going to the gym and starting out 1 day a week over 3 weeks, and then 2 days a week over 3 weeks, and then 3 days a week over 3 weeks. And then that last 4 weeks, 4 days a week. By then you'll see evidence of you having gone to the gym, of either some weight being lost or some muscle mass being built on something. You're gonna see it, and other people will have done seen it by now for sure, but you would definitely see it if you were that disciplined. And that's not even that much discipline. You started out 1 day a week. Anybody can do that. So this is a time to really step it up, and you should already see some evidence of that, which will help you to have the motivation to increase that intensity and really turn things up another notch. Well, like we talked about, so since we're kind of in this cycle, let me go back. The summer solstice, again, as a reminder, after that intensity, the full manifestation of your yearly plan. So now is the time to start to relax and kind of ease up. Like the seeds that you planted during the spring, it takes a lot of work between spring and winter. Like anyone who's ever owned a farm, if none of you have ever had a garden or anything, go and find somebody, or maybe there's a YouTube video on like the life of a farmer in 1 year. From December to the spring equinox, they're not doing anything. They're not just waiting to plant seeds in the ground. They're starting to game plan for the year at first. They're starting to game plan for the year. And then as it gets closer, they're starting to prepare the soil, for the seeds that they're going to plant. And then when they do plant it, that's when the farming has a lot of the work. You have to really tend to those crops heavily. By the time the summer solstice is there, they're kind of on their own. You don't have as much work as when you did from the spring equinox to the summer solstice. You can kind of start to relax, not just, oh, we made it summer solstice, let's stop doing anything. No, you want to slowly, just like you baby stepped into it, you want to start baby stepping out of it. So, okay, we made it. This is the point of starting to reflect on how far you've come. Just like the waxing point is about reflecting on how far you came on the full moon manifestation. So on the summer solstice manifestation, how far did you come? How successful were you? So the fall equinox, that whole time period between the summer solstice and the winter solstice is all about reflecting. From the summer solstice to the autumn equinox, that's the center point between the two solstices. So this is when you from the point between the summer solstice and the autumn equinox, that is the time period of kind of reflecting on the first 6 months and how well you achieved your goals and how far you've gotten, how much you accomplished. And then from at the autumn equinox, that's when you want to begin shifting from reflecting on like for this year, for reflecting on 2023, and begin to start game planning for 2024. And so, and it's also like the harvest. That's why at the autumn equinox, and all across America, you have all these harvest festivals. In every county, the county fair that's just really a harvest festival. It's become very modernized now because we don't really farm like we used to. Farms become a commercial commodity and everything. But anyways, all of that celebration and everything is a celebration of the harvest. Oh, we are enjoying the fruits of what we have produced. We are bountiful, we are abundant, we are prosperous, and now we need to start game planning, for making it through the winter. So since we have all of this, let's enjoy the bounty now, and then we will, preserve and conserve our resources and food and storage in order to make it through winter until the next year when we're starting to produce crops again. So the autumn and fall is all about shifting from reflecting how the year went into starting to game plan for the next year until we get again to the winter solstice, when you're starting to ready to no longer game plan, but start putting the steps towards implementing that game plan into your life. So you have like a daily cycle that you go through, a monthly 28-day cycle, lunar cycle that you move through, and then a larger solar cycle that you move through annually. And, when you're doing this, the key isn't to just, have leaps and bounds every single year or every single month or even every single day. But maybe not the daily. So as far as this next part, so much as the monthly or definitely the annually. But as long as you are in a better position than you were at this point last year, as long as you are a more progressed individual this point than you were, or this year than you were this point last year, as long as progress is being made, then you're fine. You're making progress is the key to life, So that's what I leave you all with today. Does anyone have any questions over any or all of that?
When exactly does the spring equinox start?
Like March 21st. Yeah, let's see.
March 21st.
Yeah, let's see when it exactly is this year. It's like 21st or 22nd. Spring equinox. Monday, March 20th at 5:24 p.m. Eastern time on Monday, March 20th. So almost just,
March 20th.
yeah, like 6.5 hours away from the 21st. So yeah, so March 20th, that's when you want to start, picking up the intensity. So let's see, when's Easter this year? April 9th. So just a couple weeks after. Just like Christmas is like 3-4 days after the winter solstice. Keep you a little on your toes. Keep you a little off kilter. The fertility, that's why the bunny rabbit, the Easter bunny rabbit, represents fertility. Ishtar is from Ishtar, the goddess of fertility, the Egyptian goddess of fertility. That's where Easter comes from, because that is the time when the earth and nature is the most fertile. Your mind is the most fertile at that point. So you are really going to manifest the things that you implement within your mind around the spring equinox. And that's what is really going to start manifesting intensely. That is the most powerful time of the year to manifest. So a lot of people have certain dates and things, but this is all cyclical. So it's slowly intensifying to them. It's long time periods. Just like the day. I mean, the sun is at its fullest at or the moon. The moon is at its fullest at one precise moment. The full moon isn't really full. It's only really full for like 20-30 seconds, and then it starts slowly going to not full. But we think of, oh, it's a full moon today. You probably have plenty of people who are like, oh man, it looks like it's a full moon today, and then it's like, no, the full moon's tomorrow actually, or no, the full moon was yesterday. But I mean, it looks like a full moon now. It's a gradual thing. So all of this is the same way. It's gradual. It's gradually moving into this. It's gradually moving away from this. But yeah, so that's how you kind of will want to harmonize with that. And you can, formulate different rituals that you would like on the spring equinoxes, summer equinoxes, spring, fall equinoxes, summer solstice, winter solstice, the full moon, the new moon, and just find ones that kind of correlate with each thing, like during the equinoxes, like winter equinox is a really good time for, letting things go to make room for new things that you're going to start implementing and building. There's all types of things that you can do. Yeah.
May I ask you something?
Yeah, absolutely. No questions.
All right, then I got me a statement. What does
Nah, you guys questions.
other people's cars and houses and dreams represent? Other people's cars and houses.
Yeah. What do you think they represent?
Okay, I gotta think about this one a little. I know my own car, that'll represent my physical body or my life's experiences. So other aspects, cars, I think that'll represent maybe their time in control, or maybe the experiences that they've had, like in houses.
Well, what's like the three main basic rules of dreams and dreaming?
Every dream is about you. A dream is a reflection of how you've been using your thoughts for the past 2 days, and a dream interpretation and becoming more aware with your dreams. It's fine, it's fun, it's cool, but unless if you don't apply the message that you're getting from it, it's basically nothing.
Yeah. And every person, place, or thing in a dream is an aspect of yourself. So
Yep.
If your dreams are about you, and every person, place, or thing in a dream is an aspect of yourself, and dreams are a reflection of how you've been using your mind the last day or two, then other people's cars wouldn't really be about other people, right? It'd be about you.
Yeah.
Right. But there's a reason that the dream chose other people's cars versus your own car, right? So there is a difference here, but it's still going to be about your own, body and your own physical life that you use this body to experience, right? So,
okay.
do you always consciously choose what happens to your body?
Yes, I'd say yes.
Yes, you always consciously choose what happens to your body. Have you ever had an ailment in your body?
An ailment? I have no idea.
Yeah, like have you ever been sick?
I mean, I probably.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Been sick.
Yeah, you're fine. Have
Yeah.
you ever been sick? Did you consciously choose
Yeah.
to be sick?
Yeah. That's a good one. Yes, I did, but also unconsciously. Okay, well, just know then. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I didn't.
Yeah. You ever like, broke a finger or twisted an ankle or anything?
Nope, but I know I hurt them a lot. So, man, my toe hurts right now.
Okay. Did you consciously choose to make your toe hurt? Did you say, you know what? I'm gonna make my whole toe hurt today?
No, man, I ain't consciously
No,
choose
of
that.
course not. Yeah. So then we don't always consciously choose what happens to our body. Sometimes it's unconsciously done. And sometimes due to the influence from outer things, being influenced from our environment, influences from how we've been programmed, influences from the people that are close to us. Those program our mind in a certain way that has an effect on our body. So sometimes we consciously create these thoughts that have an effect on our body. Sometimes we unconsciously create them ourselves. And sometimes it's unconsciously created for us based upon the programming that has been either purposefully or accidentally implemented into our consciousness. And so when other people's cars and things are going to represent different things that are influencing our physical body that we feel is coming from things outside of ourselves, just like when someone, like if we're in a dream shooting someone, that's us like consciously choosing what parts of ourselves we want to change, and we are actively trying to change. If someone is shooting at us or shooting at other people in a dream, then it's representing how we are feeling that our outer environment in some kind of way is influencing us to change in ways we don't want to change, right? So the same thing applies to, like,
Yeah.
take that same correlation and apply it to other cars, other people's cars. It's like these thoughts and emotions that we have that we were influenced to think and feel based upon things within our environment that is affecting our body in some kind of way, either a positive or negative way or neutral way.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, you're very welcome.
Okay, so I have a question. I have put a
Yeah.
dream from last night into the chat this morning about
Yeah.
somebody else's house being moved by a like an 18-wheeler, and it was like moved in the middle of the street, and it was like at a four-way stop. So would that be, because when I thought about how I've been thinking the last couple of days, it's been me feeling like social media or like my phone is taking too much of my time and attention. So would that be that? Because that's my the house represents my mind, my state of consciousness.
Yeah, exactly. And then it was at a four-way stop. Let's pull it up.
Yes.
Last night I had a dream that a house was being moved, but it was left in the middle of the street, but on the side of the street with a four-way. The whole dream I was trying to figure out who left the house there and why would they do that, because trucks know. It's like rules that you have to follow. You can't just leave something on the side of the road and eventually we'll figure it out. Who did it? There were people in the house also, but either they were dead or dying because of something toxic in the house. Wow. So yeah, that house probably is related to the consciousness that you have around like social media and realizing that it's not really producing anything for you. It's actually, killing off parts of yourself that you enjoyed. And it's kind of changing who you are. And the four-way intersection, right? What does anyone know what a road represents in a dream? If a car represents your body, what does the path that the car takes represent?
Would it be decisions maybe?
Well, your life path, your path in life. So, but yes, an intersection is a decision, right? You're at a four-way stop. You can go forward, you can go left, you can go right, you can, hit it in reverse and go back the way you came, so a four-way stop is an intersection like that is a decision time. You know, you have a decision make. Which way do you want to go with this? You know, and so that's kind of where you're at right now. Like, which way do I actually want to go with this? You know, right now you're kind of more assessing like, how did I get here? You know, how did this get here? How did I get to this point with this? You know, how did I let this get out of hand, or how did I let this have such an effect on me? You know, and then you're also aware, like, okay, at some point I have to make a decision and figure out which way to go in this four-way. You know, because I have things going on. You know, trucks, you know, are always moving. You know, I have things moving here. I have goals that are being maintained and attained, you know, through my choices and actions and achieving these as I'm moving through life. It was a great dream. All right. Santana, you have any thoughts or questions?
Hey Tarak, no, it's really
Hey.
funny. I know I've been, you know, MIA for a while, but I
That's
really could when you were talking about the phases of the moon, and I wanted to actually learn more about, you know, how could I use the I never knew too much about the waning moon, but I just knew that, you know, for the full moon that we pretty much we release, and then the new moon we kind of like, I've learned, you know, manifest with that. I don't
Yeah,
know
that's
if
the
I said
beginning point.
if I got those two
You know?
confused, but I know that the moon, the full
No,
moon in
absolutely. No,
Cancer
you're
kind
right.
of came up really tough, and I study astrology, and I've been feeling like I've been feeling really emotional and heavy, and I've been doing a lot of heart-centered meditations lately. So a lot of my feelings, I used to get nervous and things in my gut. Now I feel all of my feelings in my heart. So I wanted to know, what is your intake on that, by the way?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you definitely want to look at you know, these phases, you definitely want to look at the sign that the moon is in, the sign that the sun is in. So like, you know, the sun is always going to, like, for winter solstice, it's always going to be in Capricorn for winter solstice, you know. And winter solstice, uh the Capricorn is all about like hard working, you know. And so it's like, okay, now it's time to get to work. You know, the the um, summer solstice, sorry, is always in the sign of Cancer. You know, and Cancer is all about you know, nostalgia. You know, the things of the past. You know, and so that's why it's now is time to start reflecting. You know, so hard working, now it's time to get to work. You know, nostalgia, now it's time to start reflecting emotions as well and things. But like with the moon, full moon in Cancer, and then next we'll have the new moon, which will, I think it will be in another sign, I believe, because that will already be Aquarius, right?
Yeah.
It will be a new moon in Leo, I believe. Yep, barely, like 7 degrees into it. So the new moon in Leo, you know, and so you want to definitely pay attention to that. So like with the full moon being in Cancer, you know, that 2 weeks before, you really could have used that, because emotions are powerful for manifesting, because it's the last level of the mind, of the subconscious mind, that a thought travels through before it manifests. So, you know, that's why the, you know, it's so emotional in the birthing room. You know, the whole time you're pregnant, yeah, you have like emotional waves or, you know, mood swings or whatever, but you know, there's a lot of intense emotion when during the birth, you know, as it's being pushed out. And so the same thing with you know, with manifestation. You know, the emotions are what's going to pull and drag it towards the physical, and then push it out and physicalize it. You know, so you like anytime there's like a water sign that the full moon is in, it's really going to be some powerful manifestations that you can have. But like I said, the full moon, that's why learning and understanding these cycles is very powerful, because then you can more consciously be in control of what is magnified during that full moon versus it unconsciously being done. You know, the unconscious thoughts that you were having and the unconscious emotions that were brewing from, like, you know, just before Christmas until last Friday, you know, and reverberating a little bit after, up until like maybe today, is the manifestation of the thoughts and emotions that you've been unconsciously and consciously having throughout those 2 weeks. You know, and then with it being an emotional sign, then it's more about kind of emotional things that you're going to manifest, things tied to the emotions, things that you're emotional about will manifest.
Yeah, I've really been feeling like so heavy to the point like I've been feeling like really bad nauseous and, you know, headaches and things like that. It's been really, I know I've been manifesting, but I noticed that I need to, when the full moons come, I have to ground more, because I feel so heavy and it's so intense. Like I get like sickness. I get a little bit sickness.
Well, and then like a week from this Saturday, we're gonna have the new moon in Aquarius. You know, so this new moon is gonna be all about your thoughts. You know, and reflecting upon like the thoughts that you have, and then starting to take action towards upgrading your thinking and things like that. You know, so yeah, that's taking it another level deeper. You know, this could have been 3 times as long if we got into like the signs and everything of it all. But yeah, if you have that knowledge, definitely incorporate that into this.
Thanks, Tarak.
Yeah, you're welcome, as always. All right.
So how do you know like what each sign is representing to know what to do with the moon?
Yeah, study it. I mean, astrology is a science. It's a geometric science of degrees and angles. It's mathematics, plain and simple. And it takes a long time to really fully understand and master. I mean, I have a lot of knowledge with astrology as it pertains to my own personal chart. So like I have a lot of planets in like the outer houses. Like, you know, from 7 to 12, I have a lot of planets between there. So like, I don't really know as much about like a lot of the other houses and things, because I don't really have planets there. You know, the signs, I really understand a lot about all of them, but like how, I mean, there's so much with astrology. So just study it. You know, you can, like, when's your birthday again?
Mine is April 10th, 89.
Okay, yeah. So April 10th is Aries, you know, so a fire sign. So that means that the sun was in the sign of Aries when you were born. But what time were you born?
I was born at 9:12 at night.
9:12 at night. So that's more like the 11th or 10th, or I mean, I'm sorry. That's more like the like eighth or ninth house, you know. So you know that there's a reason that you were born at that time on that day, not just that day, but there's a reason you were born at that time on that day. So if the sun was in that part of the sky when you were born, it's also like who owns that house? Is that the house's home? No, the 10th house is the house's home. Is so whose home is it in? Is it in the home of a friend, a planet that it's friendly with? Or is it in the home of, you know, Saturn, its enemy? Is it in its enemy's house, so it's kind of uncomfortable? You know, so that would be someone who's like kind of uncomfortable with their own identity at times. Not always, but at times, whenever it has to do with anything to do with that house. So, you know, and then you also have to figure out like what other planets are in that house, you know, that are really close to the sun. Does it have some homies with it, you know, or is Saturn also in that house? You know, is it in the house of Saturn, its enemy, and its enemy is there? You know, so now it's really uncomfortable and feeling threatened. you know, or is it in its enemy's house, but it has the moon there with it, you know, so it feels kind of comfortable. Like, man, I mean, yeah, I'm in my enemy's house. I'm in the house of ops, but I got my homeboy here with me. If anything goes down, I'll be all right, you know. So I mean, there's a lot of that, or even not even just that house, but there's houses that can look at other houses aspecting them. And so, you know, maybe maybe the sun is by itself, but maybe the moon is, you know, 3 houses over and can see it over there. So it's like, okay, you know, the moon isn't here with me, but he's across the street watching, you know, playing lookout, you know. So there's all these different types of features with this, you know. And so for you, that's Aries, but then, like, you know, where's Jupiter? Jupiter is all about expansion. You know, is Jupiter in the 10th house of careers and you know, the public arena? So it's where you're really exalted and expanded, you know, or is it, you know, and what else is there in that house? What sign is that in? You know, there's so much that goes into it. How many degrees into it is that? You know, there's so much. I mean, it takes you almost a lifetime to really understand and study fully. You know, so but start studying. Have you ever gotten a natal chart? Like, understand more than just being an Aries sun sign?
I've looked it up myself, but like to have somebody like walk me through it and know what each house means, no.
Yeah, here's a good channel. It's Vedic astrology. So as far as the signs, they're going to be very different than what you're used to. But I'll put it in the Discord actually. Hold on, let me find it here. There we go. What's that? All right, yeah, KRS channel. That's what it is. Just a moment here. There we go. All right. So I put it in the Discord chat for you to use. And I mean, just start out looking at houses. So first I would look up like Vedic astrology and get a Vedic astrology chart, find out where your planets are in what houses. First start out with the ascending sign. What sign is your ascendant? And I would watch that video first, because in the ascendant videos, he will, like, if you know what your ascendant sign is, meaning what sign was on the horizon when you were born. So if you were born at like 9 o'clock, it'd probably be, sorry, I can't remember which way it goes, but it'd probably be like, what's the opposite of Aries? Libra. So it'd probably be like Leo, maybe, like Leo ascendant. But anyways, either Leo or Aquarius ascendant probably. But anyways, either way, once you find that out, that means that the first house is this sign. So if you know that the first house is this sign, then you know the sign of all of the 12 houses. So when you find that out, you can watch that video first, and it'll say, okay, this part of your life is ruled by this planet or this sign. So that means this is going to go on in this part of your life. And this, you know, like the first house is all about yourself, you know. So the house just below that is like, that's, you know, it's below it, it's holding it up, it's lifting it up, it's supporting it. So the house below that is like friends and family. Your friends and family support you, you know, and build you up. You know, what's on the other side of the first house, the seventh house, all the way on the opposite side? Well, what's the opposite of you? You know, your enemies. You know, what's the opposite of your life? You know, what's the opposite of life? Is death. So death will be over there, you know, opposition. But what supports death, you know, your enemies. So that'll be like the house below that, you know, and things like that, you know. So like it just goes in a cyclical nature, and all of the houses have different meanings and stuff. You can learn all of that on that channel, just a little bit at a time. You know, watch one video a day or something, or 2 or 3 videos a day, and you'll pick up on it pretty quick. I mean, that's how I learned it. You know, so, and then also, you know, observing others, you know, is mainly how I learned as far as like sun signs and moon signs. Mostly sun signs, observing others. But yeah. All right. Anyone else have anything else? All right. All right. I have. I'm getting the visitation. I mean the visualization lessons edited up. So those will be put together into a easier package to digest versus the long unedited videos full of all of us talking about our exercises and things as well, and where we're at in our journey as well. So that'll be more succinct and to the point on those. So look forward to those. That'll be good. But yeah, until the last week of this month, I have it marked on my calendar on my phone in a much better way to remind myself, so I won't miss out. So keep up the work, the discipline, ideally, hopefully. If not, that's okay too. You know, and continue throwing your dreams in there in the chat. I'll get to them at some point, hopefully sooner than later. And then if anything, I'll put together like a special Q&A to go over them with you all. But yeah, let's keep it up, and yeah, peace.